it goes?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
So let's roll for the...
Roll to chat with the violent fire creatures.
Oh, God. Why do I always want to talk?
It's very valiant of you.
10.
Oh, that's another tough choice. So...
Oh my God!
You succeed in talking to these two, but the tough choice is either another one appears that is not so friendly as whatever. So I'm going to give you a chance to talk the two of these out of their violence, but either another one will appear or lava will splash up from the side and you'll take some damage.
I'll pick the first one. I'm gonna try to get those two over to my team to help me fight whatever the third one is. Or help me get away from it.
Okay, so as they're crawling down towards you, they reach you first. You look up and you can see there's another one up above that is also starting to swing down the wall. And then you now have a moment to speak to them. What do you say?
Give me a moment to speak. I don't mean any harm. I'm here to find something that rightfully belongs to me, or at least so I feel. If you help me get across, you will have my thanks, and I will free you from this cave.
You're trying to barter with them?
Yeah.
The two of them that have reached you, that you're able to quiet with this a little bit, they look exactly the same, just literally completely made of fire. And it falls down once it falls from the side of the wall onto all fours, and it crawls towards you. And you can hear the crackling of flame emanating off of its body, and it goes, "We do not seek treasure. We do not seek much of anything, really. But if you mean no harm to the cave, you are no threat to us."
Are you able to help me get past?
Past what?
Past the third one of you that is looking at me with the pretty stink eye?
Yeah, and just at that time, it drops down. Just a full drop from the ceiling. And this one is bigger than the other two. And they go, "Our superior being, to trifle with them would be an act of betrayal. We cannot, staying within our honor, fight."
Elyse listens to this, but as she's listening, she tries to create some distance between her and the supreme leader and just says, "I mean no harm. I'm just trying to receive what I feel is rightfully mine."
The biggest of them says, "You trespass in territory that does not belong to you."
I can show you the map that I have that leads me to this. I can show you the necklace that is reacting to this. But please believe me that I mean no harm. I do not wish to fight you.
You show them the necklace?
Yeah.
Alright, go ahead and give me another roll. I don't know how they feel about the necklace. We're about to find out.
17.
Alright, so that's a success.
I'm so disappointed.
I'm not. I love successes. It's just as juicy as a fail to succeed, in my opinion.
Aww.
So at that, when you pull, you're fumbling with your map, you're fumbling with your items, and the locket, you go to show the locket. When you touch it, it's hot to the touch, so you have to pull your hands away. But the being sees this, and if you look down, you can see now the emblem where it's etched in the metal is now glowing in that same scarlet flame red. And the construct doesn't really have eyes or any orifices, but there is a shift in posture. It had gotten down on all fours and was approaching you with sort of a panther-esque, about to pounce, and its muscles relax, and it rises up to be on 2 legs instead of 4, and it bows its head and gestures to the other 2, and then all 3 of them turn around and jump into the lava.
So Elyse sees this, confusingly fumbles a little bit. She's been speaking weird, and she's been having trouble speaking because she hasn't slept in days on this adventure that she's been in, and she's just not understanding what's going on. Am I dreaming? She says, and then she slowly walks towards where the lava was to check down and see what happened. Did anything happen?
They are not there anymore. They are gone.
Elyse sees this, gets super confused about what is happening. She looks down at the necklace and she touches it, but it's not hot anymore.
Nope.
Yeah, and she's like super confused by what the heck is opening, but the eye is still closed. It's always been closed, and she doesn't think it'll ever open, but it almost felt like it was going to. But she doesn't understand why it was hot. She doesn't understand why they jumped in. So now she takes a deep breath to try and collect herself. Maybe I've started hallucinating, she says. And then she takes another look at the bloody map to see if there are any clues on how she can get past this lava. Is there any clues?
Yeah, I'll say the map shows, it's like a map of our world, of the crescent moon continent that we are on, and it shows like a point where we know this ruin is. And then I think, if you turn it over, maybe it has a more detailed design of the inside of the caverns, which are not super complex. You're not going to have to go through a maze, but you can tell looking at this map that the only way forward is to cross the bridge/pool of lava.
But the bridge is broken, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's there, but it doesn't look so hot.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. So the bridge is still, fine, but it's just very creaky right now. Like, it could break any moment?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Elyse messes with the map a little bit. She realizes that there's nothing else she can do. She has to cross this bridge. And then she starts taking slow steps. And then she decides to run across this freaking bridge. Like, you would think, it looks like she's gonna take very slow steps, but instead, she just, steps a couple foot forward, very gently, slow steps, and then she, shuffles back a bunch, and then she runs.
Amazing. Yeah, go ahead and give me a roll.
14.
Alright, a 14 is, I believe it's a success.
So, I do want to say, as she's, running across, maybe the bridge starts to break a little bit.
Absolutely.
And then she takes her, her rope, and then she, lassos it into, another rock or something to hold on to it. And she, starts, smashing into, one of the sides of this, little wall area to where, before, the lava. And it looks like she's gonna fall, but then she barely hangs on because she has taken her brass knuckle and just jammed her fist into, this, rock area to make sure she doesn't fall.
That's incredible.
She's, breathing super heavy, and she's like, it's not my time to die yet, she says. And then she starts, climbing and using her brass knuckles to, use it as support to, claw her way into this cave thing. And then she climbs up and then, does, a roll into, the safe area.
Yes, I am living for this. Oh my god. Okay, so you're using sheer brute strength. You claw your way up the side of this rock cavern, the lava splashing beneath you, almost touching your heels.
I should mention this is with one hand, because one hand is still holding the rope that's hanging on to something.
Yeah, it's basically the ultimate gym class rope trick. And as you heave and push yourself up over the top, you look up and you look at your map and you know the path that you need to take, the winding, dark path to get to whatever it is you're supposed to find. And you can feel the locket begins to pulse again, pulling you forward. So why don't we go ahead and describe what you find as you're making your way to this final destination? And
you want me to speak on that, or?
Yeah, I mean, you can. Do you have any ideas of things that you wouldn't expect that would really throw off our girl?
I think some of it is very strange, because even though Elyse is not somebody who's ever afraid of the dark. She's very for her that's comfortable. Darkness is more comfortable than light to her. However, that being said, she hasn't slept in days. And she's already experiencing magic that she never knew existed. So she's super confused right now, and then she sees the winding path, and she's looking around, and she's still wondering if she's hallucinating. And as she's thinking this, the room is kind of blurring, and her locket is still pulsing, and her breath is quickening, and she's looking around, and maybe when she sees the dark path, in her vision, it starts to look like the path is like she's having double or triple vision of this path, And then as she's like experiencing that, the winding path, the winding dark path actually becomes 3 separate paths.
Yeah. That's like, and it's real. And the walls move.
Yeah, like her hallucination just came into actual existence, and it's like 3 separate paths, and she has to decide because like the walls are closing in behind her very quickly, like the sand is beginning to fall behind her. So she has to make a choice and jump into one of these 3 roads, but only one of them is real.
I
you
love
can add
that.
more.
No, and you just take a leap of faith. And as you're going through this pathway, you take this random leap of faith, just like praying that it's the right one, and then you keep walking, and everything that you imagine could go wrong does. Your brain is manifesting these bizarre things now. So like all these things that you're imagining, like you're like, oh my goodness, it's so hot, what's creating this heat? It must be, some kind of wall of fire. And then you turn the corner and there's a wall of fire, and you reference the map, and you're like, wait, that doesn't make sense. And I haven't gone that far, but I have. Time is blurring together, and when you look down, you see the X, you realize you're standing right in front of it, and when you look up, you see a glass box, tall as you, with something inside of it that I think you might want to describe.
Okay, so inside this glass box, and this is very interesting because the entire place is like lava, right? But like this like glass box almost looks like ice, which is like odd because she's like, how can there be this block of ice that looks like glass in the middle of a lava? So she starts to like gently like start to pull her hand in because she's still like very careful about this, like she's still nervous. But then when she's like reaching her hand in, it's hot. And she's like trying to understand how something that looks like ice can feel like fire. Her mind is running, and then she just like stops and then takes this deep breath. And when she does, and then she looks up, and then she like touches her locket. So she looks at the like inside of this ice, and she sees this glimmer, this glint of like metal. And then she tries to like peer in closer, and like she looks up to look at it, and there's like blades. This doesn't even make any sense, but it's a halberd? And she doesn't know, like, what it is, but it feels like she was meant to find it. And on either side of this, like, halberd, there's, like, a double-sided blade on one side. And on the other side, there's this hammer-looking blunt side. And she's looking at it, and she's looking at it. And before she even knows it, she's, like, almost, like, face-to-face with this weapon. And it feels like everything in the glass box melts away for a second, and she can just see it. And she like notices at the very top, it's the same pattern. There's this eye thing like there is on her locket. She sees it at the top of this weapon. And she like sees it, and she tries to reach out and touch it, but once again it like turns to ice. Like this like fire ice thing, whatever the heck that is, like immediately. And she like startles and like takes a step back, and she's like it was like a daze. Like she felt like she was dreaming. Like it was just her and that weapon, and then she tried to touch it, and then it was all gone and back to where she was before. Like she never even took a step forward.
So you find yourself back at the end of the winding path that you took to get to this wide cavern, staring again at this icy glass translucent sphere box. You can see the weapon now, and your locket, it starts to burn a little bit, I think. And it's just pulling you forward, like it wants you to take the steps for real. Almost like you saw what could happen, and now you have to choose to do it.
So Elyse is super exhausted, but like it's barely that like this tiny little locket is basically pulling her entire body at this point. So she starts like taking like steps forward towards this glass box, and she gets the urge to just put the locket, like line it up to where the top of this weapon is, where the other eye was, and she like puts them together. What happens?
I think the locket had stopped glowing again, and it begins to glow again. Both of the emblems glow in that same freaking scarlet color that the runes glowed when you smeared your blood on them. But it's not hot anymore.
Yeah.
And also, it didn't burn your arm when you put it through this Like when you put your arm through the whatever type of magic glass that was, it didn't burn you like it did when you imagined it.
Odd.